my name is Mercy Akoth. Currently, I work as a senior consultant at EY in London. So I'm based in their Non-Life Actuarial team. So Non-Life is basically a general insurance. And my primary focus is actuarial transformation. So what you're seeing in the London market is a lot of players are trying to digitize their processes, automate some of their processes. So my primary focus is, supporting clients through these automation journeys, either in reserving, pricing, and all aspects of actuarial work and insurance in general. Yes, I'm really privileged to just share a bit of my experience around, how to build and maintain a network. And I'll just draw upon some of my my success stories in terms of my own career and how networking has played a pivotal role in that. So in terms of my career journey, so I studied at Strathmore University in Kenya. So I did my bachelor's in, I think it's called the BSc in Actuarial Science back in Strathmore. And just to give some brief of my time at Strathmore. So I remember when I was in my second year of studies, one of our lecturers invited a guest speaker. So the guest speaker was then, I think, the chief actuary at Liberty. So he invited the guest speaker for one of our lectures. And I was fortunate enough to be handpicked to have a follow-up chat after, the way you'd have a guest speaker, then a few students can either go out for lunch with them or just have a cup of tea. So I was fortunate enough to stick around and just have a further chat after the class discussion with these, this particular actuary. And I think I always feel like that was my first introduction to sort of the power of networking, because then that introduction in that connection has really played a significant it's really helped me navigate my career further down the line. And I'll come to that. So that was in second year. Then in third year, so 1 year later, we are required to do an industry placement. So basically you're required to work at, an insurance company or any finance, you're basically just your normal internship while at uni. So we are required to do that. And at the time I already had 2 actuarial exams, but it was just super difficult to secure an internship. Then I was like, yeah, actually a year ago I made contact with Moses, who was then at Liberty. So I just reached out. Hi, Moses. I'm currently in my third year of studies. I've done 2 actuarial exams. I'm looking for an industry placement for my internship as part of my degree. And luckily, he asked me to share my CV. So I shared my CV, and just fast forward, I was able to secure this internship. And so it's moved from a contact you met in class to someone who's actually helped, has considered you for an internship opportunity. Then during the internship, we have another conversation that I always consider again quite powerful, because it helped me gain some other opportunity. So during the internship, Moses, he's just sharing about his own career journey, and he goes into the details of his time at Oxford, how he won the Rhodes Scholarship, how those 2 years of his life, I think he described them as the best. Maybe I need to check up with him whether he still thinks they are the best years. I'm sure probably it is. Yeah, and I was super encouraged. I was like, so, yeah, I think I went home. I'm like, I have a very strong resolve. I'm still in my third year. I'm like, after uni, I think I want to go to Oxford. I'll apply for the Rhodes, because now I've sort of that person you've met has shared info about their own career. So you are sort of learning about the opportunities they've pursued, because you can't know everything, but through all these interactions with various people, you get knowledge around the opportunities out there. So for me, it was the Rhodes Scholarship. If I hadn't met Moses, most likely I would never have known about that scholarship. So fast forward, I finished my studies at Strathmore. Then I get my first actuarial job at Britam. So I joined Britam as a reserving actuary. I do that for 1.5 years, but of course, at the back of my mind, I have that aspiration and target to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship. So I do apply for the Rhodes Scholarship, and fortunately, I was selected as one of the 2 scholars from Kenya in 2015. So each year Kenya has two slots for the Rhodes Scholarship. So I was fortunate enough to be one of the two. So I joined Oxford University, and I think it's by coincidence. He keeps saying that I copied him. Remember, he's an actuary by background. I'm also an actuary by background who is interested in statistics. So I ended up doing the exact same courses he did in Oxford. Like, I think he was in Oxford in 2002. Myself was in Oxford in 2016. But again, that goes back to the power of networks and how like the people you interact with and meet can influence your career journey in a positive way. So for me, again, like I do my two courses at Oxford. So I do a master's in statistics and an MBA. Then I make the decision to come back in Kenya. So I joined Griffin, which I think currently trades as Lamy. So Griffin, like here is trying to revolutionize how insurance is sold and consumed in Kenya. So I joined the company, and, like here, I'm basically doing pricing for them. So their flagship product was a motor insurance product. So I was basically just like doing your risk-based pricing, like applying all those GLM models you've learned in school on, like just trying to get like a risk-based price for its motor book. So I do that for 1.5 years, then decide to explore opportunities in the UK. So, at that time, I joined Bima, which is a micro insurance company with presence in a few emerging markets. So Ghana, Tanzania, Cambodia, and basically at that company, I was doing the pricing for the insurance products, reserving, so everything actuarial. Then in 2020, I qualified as an actuary and decide to make yet another career move. So this time I opt to explore consulting. So I joined EY, like here in, I think, July 2021. And that's where I've been for the past 2 years. So I'm currently a senior consultant at EY with a primary focus on actuarial technology transformation. So in a nutshell, well, that's not a nutshell, 10 minutes in, that's my career journey to date. And I think I was just like trying to emphasize on how networking was quite pivotal. And it's never too early or too late to try and build your network. So for me, a key contact I made was while at university, a mere second-year student. But over the years, I've really tried to ensure that I'm trying to like get the best I can from Moses, but also just contribute my own learnings. Because of course, like now I'm mid-career, so, and I'll come to that, like networking is two-way, so it just doesn't need to be one way. So just harnessing the power of the network I got introduced to back at uni. So I think, yeah, if anyone has any question, just feel free to come off mute and like just ask away. So what I thought a good place to start, and again, just to, as I was saying, like it doesn't need to be this very big word, you're unclear. Okay, so what exactly is networking? So I just thought we could just have, a few volunteers telling us what comes to mind when you hear the word networking. So please feel free to just come off video and, just let us know your thoughts. A word that comes to mind, or what do you think networking is? Any takers? Yeah, Walter?
Hi, hello, Mercy.
Hi.
I'm Walter. I'm actuarial analyst. I recently joined a year ago. So, what comes to mind when I'm thinking about networking is that I usually look at it in terms of like uh, let's say you have a child, and probably you would want to take your child through the ropes until your child grows to understand how the world works. So that's how I usually look at it when I think about networking, as in we have people in the industry who are seasoned,
Mm-hmm.
and what we learn in campus probably not is not usually uh, what we're going to practice when we come to the industry. There's usually some information that we usually learn. So when you have someone who already knows what you should do and what you should not do, it's usually time saving as opposed to actually going through it alone. So that's what usually comes to me when I think about networking.
Networking. Yeah, I think that's really great. Thanks a lot, Walter. So basically, there's people who've gone before you. So it's about like trying to learn from their own career journeys, because there's nothing new in this world. So basically, whatever you're going through, someone else has already gone through. So you'd rather get those hand-me-down tips just so that we don't either like fall in the same traps or just like do things better. So I think that's a very good contribution. Any other person? Okay. Yeah, so I think basically what you're saying is, like you're making those connections with either like people in your own profession or in industry, and just like trying to either like learn from them, and like you're just like trying to understand their own journeys and how you can chart your own path. So in terms of a very simplistic, like definition, so building and maintaining relationships with individuals in your field or your industry. And it doesn't need to be your immediate industry, because again, like careers are very, like it's not like a straight line. They're not like, typically careers are not like such a straight line. So one day I might be doing mainstream actuarial work, but the next time I'm interested in AI and just like more, like other types of work. So it doesn't have to be confined in your own industry or in your own field. So it's just like trying to make those connections and build relationships with individuals in areas you're interested in, or like individuals you look up to. And I think like I know like Walter mentioned that you have people who are seasoned in their careers or people who've gone ahead of you. I think like it's never too late to actually also be a useful network and a useful resource to someone. So like right now, if majority of you are just like starting out in their career, there's people who are just like coming out of uni. So it's sort of like just the way, like the term, it's a network, right? So you contribute to the network and you also benefit from the network. So I think like that's one thing I found like super useful. Always thinking about how can I benefit from people who've gone ahead of me, but also how can I pay it forward by influencing the next generation of actuaries. So don't think about it as it's just like one way. It's me trying to make the most of people who've gone ahead of me. Also think about, so how do I make my own contribution in this? So either there's mutual learning from the people who've gone ahead of you, but also people who are just like starting out. And in terms of why, why is networking significant as a professional? So it's an avenue to exchange ideas. So this can be in terms of, if you're interested in some of the trendy topics, say in actuarial or insurance, you can use, say, like conferences, actuarial conferences, or some other industry conferences to just exchange ideas. Or if you have like, if you have like a particular goal in mind, it might be good to just like get in touch with a few people within your network to just like try understand their own perspectives on some of these ideas. Then the other aspect is you can utilize it as an avenue for new opportunities. And I think part of my career journey has highlighted how very, like your interactions with people I was introduced to in campus or during my internship have actually enabled me first get to know about particular opportunities. So as I mentioned, I likely would never have known about the Rhodes Scholarship if I hadn't like had that conversation with Moses, who is now my mentor and someone I look up to. So for me, I see networking as an avenue for new opportunities. Or if you are, say, in a particular job, but you're keen to either pivot to a different industry or explore other opportunities, you can also utilize your network to just like keep them informed that I'm currently open to new opportunities. This is what I'm interested in, and this is what I currently do. And we'll get to the gist of how to effectively network and just get into a bit of those tips. And I think the other one is just around establishing a brand and enhancing your visibility. So the current world is super competitive, and you don't just stand out because you're doing a good job at work. You just won't stand out because you are, you're earning very good grades in your actuarial exams, or in your, say, like if you're still in uni, in your university courses. So there is more to that. You have to be visible in your particular area of practice. And one way to do that is just trying to contribute. So contributing to, like, say, like a conference. So we have like the annual task conference. So contributing to such conferences will be an avenue to network, but also help you, inevitably, it will help you establish your own brand and enhance your visibility. So people will start to know you, people will know where you work, people will know what you're good at. So I think like taking up such volunteer experiences can actually help you to establish a brand within your profession and also enhance your visibility. Then another thing is around mentorship and career aspirations. So as Walter mentioned, there's people who've already gone ahead of us. So just trying to identify individuals that you'd either want to like follow like an almost similar career path, or just learn from their own career journeys. You can utilize part of your network to do that. Developing long-lasting relationships. Some of my mentors and some of the networks, like people within my network have actually ended up being my friends outside, like, like the profession, but also, like you're just people you learn from, just not only in their professional life, but also other aspects of their life. You can utilize your network as a sounding board for competing career choices. So if you're fortunate enough to, say, like have two job offers or multiple job offers, or just trying to consider like what career path to take, you can utilize your network to help you, like answer such questions. But at the end of the day, of course, the answer comes from you, but you can utilize them as a sounding board, given that they've likely seen more than you have. Sounding board for work or school challenges. So you'd have like, I think like now in the UK, we have quite a few Kenyan actuaries, and we've recently, we are trying to establish a network around that. So I think now we are like maybe just under 50 of us. And yeah, like people utilize it as an avenue to either like, just like engage in like the current trends in the UK market. So you can utilize your network for some of those. Yeah, so those are just some of the, like, yeah, the importance of why we have to network and a quick definition of networking. Then in terms of how to build the network. So we've learned about like, like you're trying to make contact with individuals within your own field or industry, but how exactly do you do this? So I think like luckily now in the world of social media, basically any person you think about is hopefully just not a speed dial away, but like, yeah, we have LinkedIn, which is the professional, like your social media platform. So in most cases, if you utilize it well, you'll actually end up expanding your network in a very good way. So I think it's just like utilizing social media platforms such as LinkedIn. Then when you think about networking, it's just not about, like networking with people outside your, say, like if you're already working, it's just not about networking with people outside your day job. Effective networking is also just networking internally at work. So outside your immediate line manager or people who report to you, do other people in the business know you? Do they know your interests? Do they know like what you're up to at any particular point? So I think it's just the notion of going beyond thinking that networking is just, like, yeah, how many people do I know outside my organization? But also thinking about within my firm, am I, like, yeah, do I know, like, like these particular people, like, do they know what I'm up to? So just trying to expand your network outside your, like, say, direct reports or your direct, like, yeah, basically your direct reports. Then the other one is there's lots of professional bodies. So if you're an actuary, there's task, or, like, yeah, I'm sure like there's a few other professional bodies, or the IFOA, and, like, yeah, so these professional bodies would have different events. So say like annual conferences, or, like, yeah, symposiums and all that. So just like being on the lookout for such events, because then like those are very good avenues for you to network. The other one that really helped me early on in my career was given that I was still working in Kenya and even in the UK, is working parties. So some of these professional bodies would have working parties within them. And these are like, sort of like subgroups of people who are interested in a particular topic. So for me, I remember when I was back in Kenya, I was interested in health insurance because I was working at Britam and I was doing health insurance. So I joined the health insurance working party, like when I was doing my first job. And for me, I was utilizing that as an avenue to get to know people outside Britam and also people, just outside Britam basically, because then you'd meet actuaries working at CIC, working at, like Old Mutual, so basically actuaries outside Britam. And for the working parties, it's just not about being a member, but also being an active member, like go beyond like being very sedentary in your involvement in these working parties and volunteer to write different papers within the working party, volunteer to arrange different, if there's talks that need to be arranged. So just like be an active participant, because then like your presence alone. And I remember like at the time, I was still early on in my career. I was like, what can I contribute to this room full of people who've worked for like, say, 7, 10 years? But it's never, there's always a place for everyone. So I'd either like take the minutes or just volunteer to put together a paper. So it's not about just joining the working parties, but being an active participant in the working party. So identify the working parties you're interested in and join them, but also actively participate. The other one that has really worked for me is like taking up volunteer opportunities. So I remember like when I was at Griffin, there was an opportunity to help plan the task. We have like an annual task conference, and I basically volunteered to be part of the, the whole planning team. And again, yes, you are helping with planning the conference, but inevitably you're also meeting other actuaries within the industry. So again, just like be active in your own profession, join different mentorship programs. So I, like here, I know like currently a mentor in the, is it called the East African Mentorship Program, a task? No, by the Actuarial Academy in East Africa. So be on the lookout for such programs. So, like here, for that I'm a mentor, but at work, I'm a mentee in another like mentorship program. So always be on the lookout for such opportunities, because then one, you'd get the mentorship, but also you'll create an additional industry contact, Yeah, then the other bits is around attending and presenting in conferences. So for me, again, it's never too early or too late to just be active in your own profession. So attend the conferences. If you have like an interesting piece you'd like to present on or something you're interested in, just present, like volunteer to present, So again, like it's all about like actively participating in your profession, because then that's how you will build on your network and also your brand and visibility. And last but not least, what we talked about was LinkedIn. So just, like, yeah, utilize social media as much as you can. Then in terms of what's expected of you, so we've looked at the various avenues, like, yeah, say for instance, if you are trying to make contact with someone on LinkedIn, you're just trying to, like, yeah, you've looked at their profile and it's someone you'd be keen to have within your network. So we'll just like go into a bit of detail of, say, like if you're doing that LinkedIn message, like the initial message, how exactly do you do that? Or if you're meeting people, say in, like, yeah, in a conference, like, yeah, it would be good to say like send like follow-up conversations. So we'll just like go into a bit of detail on how to effectively build your network. So what's expected of you. And I'll utilize some examples of, like, yeah, someone, I remember like it was just a random evening and I get this LinkedIn message. I'm like, wow, this is super detailed. So someone has messaged you requesting for, like guidance in like one or two things, but they're super detailed. They are super clear on what they'd like to get. And, just asking whether you'd be keen to offer that. So I'll just showcase an example just to make it tangible. And the first thing is, be clear on your objectives. So say, for instance, if it's a network or a connection you're trying to establish on LinkedIn, don't just go on someone's, like, don't just send a LinkedIn request and just have, hi, Mercy, I'd like to add you to my network. if there's more you'd like to, like benefit from this connection, just be clear on that. Like send that initial message and just be clear on, hi, Mercy, I've had a look at your profile. I'm super impressed by, like, yeah, this, like, yeah, I'm super keen to just hear more of your experience, say, like, like, yeah, either like working in the UK or like how you've navigated your career to date. This is where I am. So the more specific you are, like the likely someone would actually first respond to your LinkedIn message, and also second, likely that they'll take up a call. So I think like I'll just like I'll give an example of like one of these messages I received on these, like yeah, random evening, just to show you like, like yeah, like one of the ways you can try structure, like say if you're sending out a request. So I'll switch to my Word for now. Yeah, so this was like, like, yeah, how they made their initial contact. So, hi, Mercy, I trust you're fine. I'm impressed in your career in the insurance industry, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so they've indicated, I recently started my actuarial career and I'm interested in this particular sector. Then they detail, so again, like at that point, it's easy for me to already know, okay, they are just starting out in their career. Then this is a clear, like, yeah, they've articulated their objective, like quite clearly, like why they're reaching out in the first instance. I'm reaching out because I believe your insights and guidance would be invaluable to my professional development. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to have you as a mentor, where I can seek advice and gain insights from experience, as well as share ideas with you. So we'll go to a point around like ensuring it's mutually beneficial, and also just doing your homework to ensure that you're engaging in a useful conversation. Then they're clear on, would you be open to have a scheduled virtual meeting? So this is someone I've never met, right? But just by reading how detailed their initial contact is with clear objectives, with a clear ask, it's likely I'll get back to them, and it's likely I'll actually be open to just having a few conversations with them. And, the gain will be I'll have spoken to someone who's super organized, but also they'll have gained from my, like, yeah, my experience to date. So I think that's just to emphasize that if it was just to go, hi, Mercy, I trust you're fine. I would like to add you to my network. Yes, I would accept, but if there's more that they wanted to benefit from, the clearer you are, the better, because then that's an opportunity to, just like expand on your network. Yeah, so that's just an example of like how to, like what's expected of you, like say if you're making that initial contact via social media, or if say like you've met someone at a conference and you're trying to send a follow-up. So hi XYZ, it was very good to meet you during the recent task conference. I'm just wondering if we can keep in touch and just like have regular conversations around, and this is what I'm trying to navigate. So the more specific you are, the better for the two parties. I think that's just being clear on your objectives and like yeah, what you'd like to gain from that contact. And I think like if you spell out your objectives, it will also be easier for the person you're trying to reach out to within your network to see if they are a good fit for like what you're trying to gain, or if they can actually introduce you to someone else who might provide like better advice, just given that the other person is more appropriate. Then the other element is around proactivity and taking initiative. And I think like it always sounds basic, but like yeah, it's sort of like just like going out of your way to ensure that like yeah, say like if it's for subsequent meetings, you've set up the meeting invites, you've sent agendas beforehand, because then like you don't want to jump on call and it's just like an open call. Just the same way at work, before you have like calls, you'd set up like a call but also attach like an agenda, an accompanying agenda. So I think it would be really good if say like yeah, you're reaching out, so I'd like for us to speak, and these are the things I would like to speak about. I think that would be more useful, because then you'd give the person you're trying to, like you're maintaining within your network, an opportunity to do some prep, but also just like know what, like yeah, what you're keen to speak about. So be proactive and take initiative, arrange the calls, send like, like yeah, send agendas, send follow-up, like, yeah, gratitude notes just to thank them for their time. And again, for these, I had like, again, like from the same person, like super detailed, like clear on what they'd like for us to speak about in the first conversation. Yeah, so they put together these, like, yeah, before like our first meeting. So these are the discussion points. I'm like, wow, this is super detailed. But you see, like it helps me, it helps like the person you're trying to reach out to and maintain within your network. Just know like what exactly you'd like to speak about. So they shared this before our first meeting. So just going into a bit of details of, so these are the things we'd like for us to speak about: navigating the corporate ladder and corporate politics, you know, making your ideas count. So again, like it's super easy for me or the person you're reaching out to come to the call super prepared and having thought about like examples in their own career journeys that they would like to bring to light. So I think like having such detailed agendas can actually be super beneficial. So again, like, just like being proactive and taking initiative, being organized it's basic, but I think it would be highly appreciated by the people you're trying to build a network with. Then preparing. So, like here, if say like you're having, if you're going for a conference, of course, like know the theme of the conference, just so that like, like during all those tea breaks and all that, like you'd actually go beyond small talk and like try engage like the people you're meeting in more meaningful conversations around like industry trends, like, yeah, and particular things that say like both of you are interested in. So just doing your homework beforehand and doing a bit of research, just stay informed like with, like things that are happening in your industry will always help you make that first good impression that is always super handy when it comes to maintaining your network. Then I think the other thing is around honesty and authenticity. So when you go into like some of these conversations or when you're making these initial contacts or subsequent contacts, just be honest in terms of like, like, yeah, what you're trying to achieve from, say, the call or from the discussion, because then like it will help people share relevant experiences and, just, yeah. So honesty is always a key one. So I think I'll take another pause on that and just see if there's any questions so far. Sorry, I just realized, could you see the word document? Hi, Walter, or someone else. Were you guys able to see the word document?
No,
Yes, we can.
Oh, now you can see it, but I've just realized I had shared my window, so you could only see the the PowerPoint. Yeah, so I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, at least I was able to read a bit of that. So this was the initial the discussion around like just being clear on your objectives. So this is, like, yeah, just a sample example of like an initial LinkedIn message that would likely either like, like enable you like get that first initial call with someone you're trying to establish a contact with. So just be very clear on your objectives. Then if I just flip back to my presentation, sorry about that. In terms of like how to maintain the network, so it's just not about like building the network. There's also the aspect around maintaining the network. So we've looked at, like, yeah, having different avenues you can establish these networks, but there's also, how exactly do I maintain the network? And I think like the very obvious one is maintaining contacts with your connections. So like think about it as you are trying to establish a long-term mutual relationship with the people you're either meeting during conferences or, like on LinkedIn. So just trying to ensure that you're, like here, you maintain like have regular check-ins. Of course, like that's just subject to the availability of both parties. So, like, yeah, just ensure that you've expressed interest to keep in touch more regularly. Like, yeah, always just like request for meetings. Say if there's something you're trying to navigate and you'd benefit from someone in your network. So those regular check-ins just help keep the initial momentum. Then if you've made like initial contact, or if you've had like a conversation with someone or attended a conference and met someone, just send follow-up emails, like here after that initial connection, expressing, like it was really good to meet you today. It was great to engage in XYZ discussion. I'll be interested to keep in touch. So just like sending those follow-ups to ensure that you maintain that momentum. Then the other interesting way to just like maintain that contact is like, if say like there's any significant thing happening in your own career, or like say if you're going to change jobs, or if you are considering like trying to make a decision between two opportunities, if people in your network would benefit, like would contribute to say like that decision making, I think just reaching out to either inform them or have those discussions can actually help you, because then like you're making them, like you're inviting them to your own career journey. So I think it's always great to just maintain those connections. Then I think the other one is around aiming to foster a mutual relationship. So I see networking as two-way. So it's just not about me trying to, like benefit the most from the people within my network, but also just me thinking about how can I contribute to some of the initiatives. So this can be in terms of if they're leading a working party that I'm interested in, just volunteering. So I think like just trying to ensure it's two-way, and like yeah, both parties are benefiting from this connection. And that takes intentionality and just like being okay, like doing some of, like yeah, like more work and just like volunteering for things you're super keen to be involved in. Then I think another one, again, like we'd mentioned about LinkedIn, so leveraging social media platforms. So I don't have to be like speaking to someone day to day, but I can follow them on social media. I can say comment on some of like the posts they put. So just like trying to, like yeah, engage with some of their like contributions in the industry, but also sharing my own insights and expertise. Because then like we talked about, you can utilize networking to help you establish and maintain a brand. So just like sharing your own thoughts and insights, you'll ensure that you just don't get lost from the people you've made connection with. So I think that's always super important. Then the last one, and I think we've spoken about this at length, is joining and contributing to various industry and professional forums and associations. And it's just not about joining, it's also about contributing. It's never too early or too late to be more actively engaged in your professional body. Yeah, so I think basically that's what I had to share about networking. I'll open it up to any questions. So I don't know, I think I can see Bridget's hand is up.
Yes. Thank you, Mercy, for the presentation.
Yeah.
My question is kind of scenario based.
Yeah.
So in the case that I get a mentor, but then I learned that the mentor is not a good person, say from like the colleagues they work with, or say, yeah, in those cases, do I drop the mentor? Do I maintain the connection at
The
a
contact.
distance?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you navigate that in case you've
Yeah.
ever encountered it, or anyone has and can
Yeah.
help me go through that situation?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a very good question. And like here, I think like it would be like a typical scenario. Like it wouldn't just be something that's unique to you. So I think like the way I view like such scenarios, because then like, like yeah, even say like within like your normal workplace, like different people would experience different people very differently. Like say if okay, hopefully I have the same narrative across my colleagues, but like yeah, at times like how like the perception different people have of different people is always very different. At times like it's day and night. One person would be like, Mercy is super super interesting, and the other person would be like, oh, Mercy is so boring and all that. Yeah. So I think like it's like those are perceptions, and it would depend on when you interacted with Mercy, like, yeah, what was the context? What led you to have like that perception? So I think I always try and give people not second chances, like sort of like I take it upon myself to make my own perceptions. So like it's good to like like draw upon like what other people think about specific people. But if say like I was in that situation, I've been introduced to this mentor, I hear that they're not super nice, I think like I would take the chance to establish my own relationship and my own perception during our mentorship sessions, because then like the mentorship relationship, there's a specific goal. So unless like they start depicting some of these things I've had elsewhere, like I wouldn't like really be extremely bothered, because then like if I'm clear on, because I think like it just goes back to, we are not like human beings can't just be entirely bad. So there's good aspects, there's strong points that each of us brings to the table. So I think I would try like focus on their strengths, and like am I benefiting from this mentor-mentee relationship? So I would try and make my own judgment, if I put it that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other queries or any other experiences on, like your own experience networking? What has worked for you? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think
Uh,
for me that's all. Oh, sorry, yeah, Walter. Please go ahead.
um, Hi. For me, what has usually worked for me during networking is just like when you mentioned being honest. I usually just go straight to the point with with what I want when I meet someone. So like when we attend events, uh, when I was in campus in Maseno, we used to hold these actuarial convention.
Yeah.
Uh, where we would invite actuaries from, the one that are actually practicing, so that they can come and tell us uh, how actually what they actually do. So
Yeah.
the first time I met uh, Elias Omondi, I made sure that that day Elias knew me by name, and he never actually forgot about me. So it went on like that. At first, I didn't know what to say, but I just met Elias. I told Elias, "Hi, uh, I'm really interested in what you do, like, and I want to learn." It was just simple and honest, and I think, looking back, I realized that everyone is human, and they understand that uh, there's nothing really much you can do while you're in campus, but they can offer guidance.
Guidance.
Yeah. So it's usually easier when you state your business, so that at the end of the day, you actually get what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very, like, yeah, that's super, like super useful. Yeah, just being very honest, being clear on like what you're trying to like achieve. And as you say, like I think like generally everyone really likes to help, and we are all as like in one way or another, like either like your career journeys or even like your journeys through life so far has been aided by someone else, right? So everyone is always like super keen to just like pass forward and just like help other people who are coming up. So always like whenever you feel scared, oh my, how can I approach this person? Just know that if you do it in the correct way, if you're super honest, this is like just like very clear on, this is what I'd like for us to discuss. Like someone on the other side would actually be willing, because at the end of the day, they are human and they are innately, like you're looking forward to help. Yeah, so thanks a lot for that. Yeah, any other queries or contributions on what has worked? Okay. Sorry, Sandra. I've just seen your contribution now. So yeah, what comes to mind is making contact. Yeah, that's super useful. Yeah, if there's no further queries, I'll just let you guys start your weekend.